It is, of course, the King's birthday holiday Monday for most of us, not all of us, of course. And who knew the King had the same birthday as his mum? What a happy coincidence. No, seriously, the honours announced today are pretty infuriating. Most of them are terrific and welcomed, of course. I mean, who wouldn't applaud recognition for the cricket legend Glenn McGrath, who turned his family's tragedy into one of the nation's great charity causes? But there's plenty of consternation this year, and rightly so, over the top honours given to two former Labor premiers, Victoria's Daniel Andrews and Western Australia's Mark McGowan. These blokes were two of the most callous, uncompromising and wrong-headed imposers of COVID pandemic responses. They cared little for personal liberties or for scientific evidence. They generated fear about COVID as if it were Ebola, and they played to a petrified crowd. Andrews made Melbourne the lockdown capital of the world, nearly 9 months of lockdowns in total, all on the basis of medical advice he never shared, and even curfews were imposed on absolutely no medical advice whatsoever. Victorian kids had serious disruption to their schooling for more than 2 years. People were restricted to their local areas. They were forced to wear masks outdoors. Again, unscientific nonsense. They were banned from fishing, from playing golf, from going to the park. In Victoria, they even shut down playgrounds. The state government locked in the residents of a housing commission tower. They introduced extreme vaccine mandates, and the police actions against lawbreakers and protesters were brutally extreme, as you're seeing now. And all through this horrible overreaction and draconian government, Andrews spoke to Victorians as if they were toddlers.
There will be a curfew on advice from the Chief Health Officer from 9 p.m. to 5 a.m. each and every day. Exercise is just that. It's not an opportunity for 7 families to catch up in the park. It's exercise. So it's you and one other person from your household or dependents. There will be no removal of masks to consume alcohol outdoors. So you will no longer be able to remove your mask to drink a cocktail at a pop-up beer garden on a footpath as part of a pub crawl. Playgrounds, basketball courts, skate parks and exercise equipment, despite the fact that it's outdoors, will be closed. There's a whole bunch of people down the Ryback Beach last night who thought the best thing to do was to go and watch the sunset. I'm sure it was a beautiful sunset, but that's not in the spirit or in the letter of these rules.
Still hard to believe, isn't it? And the thing is that all this overreach was obvious at the time. Sure, most of the media and the politicians, they all urged him and the other premiers along. But on this program and elsewhere, the lack of scientific evidence was called out. The lack of medical necessity was called out by renowned medical experts. We knew that shutting schools was wrong. We knew that lockdowns and curfews were over the top. We knew that vaccine mandates were wrong in principle and medically pointless because it became pretty clear pretty quickly that the vaccines didn't stop infections or the spread of the disease. With every passing day now, there's more and more scientific and medical evidence to demonstrate that the tough approach of the likes of Andrews and McGowan was wrong. And the social impacts, especially on young people, have been immense. To reward Andrews, to give him a national honour for doing this to his state, adding to the economic mess nationally and helping to trigger the massive spending response, of course, that's now delivered the current inflation and interest rate pain, well, that just adds insult to injury. And then there's McGowan, who was just as severe, just as careless about civil liberties and just as intent on creating fear. He shut off his state from the rest of the country and didn't seem to care about the trauma it caused.
If we need to, we will put up the hard border, and whilst that might be upsetting to people, we'll do what we have to do. No matter how hard our border controls, the virus can sneak into Western Australia. As of Boxing Day, we'll essentially have a hard border with the whole of Australia. I never thought, as Premier of the state, I'd be bringing in state border controls. It definitely has been an extraordinary year. Now, we'll do everything we can to keep COVID out, but I can't guarantee it. I can't guarantee it. We've got ships off the coast, we've got aircrew flying in, we've got truck drivers coming across the border.
The horror, the horror. Yeah, a bloke who happily cut his state off from Australia, didn't want to be part of the nation. Well, now he's to be honoured by this nation. As the backlash grew today, this became just another issue on which Anthony Albanese is keen to escape responsibility.
These matters are a matter for, there's an independent body, makes recommendations. So I'm sure that with politicians, politicians are never on 100% support, nor are former politicians.
Yeah, what can you say about a federal Labor government that honours these two Labor premiers but won't even subject them and the whole nation to a proper and thorough royal commission into our pandemic response? It all means this could happen again. We're determined, apparently, to learn nothing.